Hey everybody, it's Josie with Cedar Creek Homestead, and today it's nasty outside. It's muddy, mucky mess. We've had rain since Sunday, and there's just the water is just saturated into the ground as much as it possibly can, and so we have a muddy mess. And so today, after I got all the chores done, really it's late afternoon, and I've been outside all day wrangling chickens and ducks, and I stepped on a nail and hurt my foot. And so anyway, I'm back in the house. I got myself all cleaned up, and we're gonna fix a dessert for supper. I got the strawberries picked, the ones that were ready, and I got a bunch, but I threw out more than I was able to harvest simply because they were waterlogged and they were a mess. And so the birds got to enjoy, the wild birds and the chickens got to enjoy some strawberries, and we're going to enjoy some strawberries. And I promised you that I would make you a strawberry shortcake recipe, so that's what we're going to do today. Now, traditional strawberry shortcake is cake or biscuits, and while I like the taste of strawberry shortcake, I don't like it because of the texture. I have a problem with soggy. I don't really like soggy anything other than chocolatey soggy. If that's, I don't really even like at birthday parties to have cake and ice cream together, because I don't like that it gets soggy. So anyway, this recipe is my granny's recipe, and this is the way that she made strawberry shortcake for my grandpa. And it starts out with a pie crust, and that's what we're going to do today, is make a pie crust, make my grandma's recipe. And then when it gets out of the oven and cools, we'll put the rest of the recipe together. So let's get started and get this made, and we'll chat about it and get it put in the oven. And then after a while, after supper, we'll have a nice strawberry shortcake dessert. So the first thing that you're going to need, and I've got my granny's recipe book here that she made for all of her granddaughters one year. And the first thing that you're going to need is 2½ cups of flour. And that's what I have in my bowl, 2½ cups of flour. And you're going to need 1 cup of shortening, which I've got right here. And I'm just going to put that, and some people use lard, and if you've got lard, use the lard. You'll make a good, flaky, yummy pie crust. But I don't have it. Haven't got my little piggies to the farm yet, but I will one day soon, hopefully, and then I'll have lard. But for now, we're just going to use shortening. Okay, so you get that in there, and then you need 1 egg, 1 farm fresh egg, or store-bought you can use, and you're going to need 1 tablespoon of vinegar and 1 tablespoon of ice cold water. Now, I can't remember on these 2 little bowls which one's water and which one's vinegar without smelling. And this one is the vinegar. I guess it wouldn't matter because I need a tablespoon of each, but I want to, so I'm going to put a tablespoon of vinegar and a tablespoon of ice cold water in this little bowl. And I'm going to go ahead and hold it over this big bowl because I've almost overflowed it. And you're just going to, blend all this together. I'm sure most of you have your own favorite pie crust mix recipe, and a lot of the recipes, I think, are pretty similar to one another. But I got that all, and we're just simply going to get that in there, and then we're going to cut this pie crust together, all of these ingredients. I have a pastry cutter, but I'm just going to use a fork, and I'm just going to go in here, and I'm just going to mash the shortening, cut the shortening into the flour, and the egg and the vinegar and the water, they're all in there, and I'm just making a motion going down from the side of the bowl into the shortening. And the egg is getting mixed in, and the vinegar and the water, it's all getting incorporated in there. And we're going to do this until it's like crumble, like a pea shape, pea crumbles. You'll see it as it comes together. You can see that it's starting to incorporate, or I hope you can see that. I'm sorry. One of these days I'll figure out all this camera stuff, guys. I haven't figured it out yet. We'll just say that our channel's organic. So we're going to get this all. Now, a lot of times when people make pie crust for a pie, they'll wrap their pie crust up in plastic wrap, and they'll put it in the refrigerator and let it cool. This particular recipe, I don't worry about that. And I've seen my granny make it pie shell after pie shell after pie shell, because we would have big family gatherings and everybody would get together and we would have a great big pot of strawberries that had been sweetened and macerated so that the juices were flowing. Now see how that's coming together? See that? That's what you're looking for. Nice and crumbly. Getting it all mixed up, mixed well. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, scooch those out of the way, I'm going to put just a little bit of flour. Now you don't want to get so much flour on your board. In this case, I'm just putting it on the countertop. You don't want to get so much on there that you cause your crust to pick up more flour and to get overly crumbly, over where it won't hold together, okay? So you're just putting just enough to kind of help you in aiding you in putting it together. So I'm going to dump it out on right here on my counter and move this bowl out of the way. Okay, now looks like you guys cannot see that. So, okay guys, I'm back. The recipe, the pie crust came together and it was pretty, and I kept working, and you don't want to overwork it, it'll get tough, and it just would not come together. And I thought, well, maybe my kitchen is too hot, so I put it in the fridge while I worked up my strawberries, let it chill, took it back out, and it still would not come together. So I took a little bit of water, cold water. Sometimes when your pie crust doesn't come together, if you'll take a little bit of water, cold water on your fingertips, and not a lot, and just put it on there, you can get your pie crust to come together. And it just was not. Every time I tried to roll it out for you guys, it would just fall apart. And I was getting frustrated and also getting tickled, because this is supposed to be a never fail pie crust. And I thought, well, of all times for it to fall apart when I'm trying to pay tribute to my granny, and the pie crust recipe won't come together. So I thought, well, there's not anything I can do but just to make the pie crust again. So I got to looking at the recipe, looked it over, read it over again, and you guys, I saw what I did. The recipe on the water part calls for 5 tablespoons of ice cold water, and I added 1. So that was why the pie crust wasn't holding together. I didn't add the proper amount of water to begin with, so it was never going to come together the way that it needed to. And so I have redone it. I'm getting it incorporated here, and I'm getting ready to turn it out, and we're going to try this again. And it's already looking much better this time. And I should have known. But that just goes to show you, whether you've made 100,000 pie crust, and I don't know of any of us that have, except for maybe bakers, or this is your very first time. Anybody can make mistakes, and we just need to own up to them. So there we go. Josie made a mistake. I didn't add all of my water when I was trying to show you how to make pie crust. So I'm gonna dump it out on this, on the counter, and we'll get it going again. Now we don't want to over knead it because we don't want a tough pie crust. We want a soft dough. This is already much better, I can tell, just by working it this little bit, that it's better. And okay, so maybe this time I can get this recipe put together for you guys and not be embarrassed that I messed it totally up. Sometimes we just do that. We overlook a key ingredient. Not only in recipes, but in life, we can overlook something that could be staring us right in the face, and we overlook it. You know, with this pie crust, the mistake that I made, it's the way it is in life too. You know, sometimes if we would just own up to mistakes and let's see, own up to mistakes and say, yeah, I did that. So it's rolling out much better this time. Much, much better. I'm so happy. So I'm going to be able to show you this. And you're going to roll it out the same thickness that you would if you were putting it in a pie shell. Putting it in the pan. And hopefully it's going to just come right on up there. And I'll be able to just put it right out here in the pan. And it's going to. Okay. I'm just going to, I really don't care that it overlaps like this because of what we're going to do with it. So I've got it in the pan. Rustic. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fork and dot the crust. Just simply going like this all over the crust, just putting little fork marks in it. And I'm going to bake it at 375 for 12 to 15 minutes. And it should be golden brown. If it's not, I'll just simply leave it in a little bit longer. And when it's all done and cooled off, then we'll make the strawberry shortcake part of it. This is the shortcake part, and it won't be soggy like what a cake would be. So I'm going to get this in the oven, and when it's done, we'll come back and take care of the rest of it. Okay, everybody, our pie crust is out of the oven, and it's ready to be put in the bowl in individual servings, and our strawberries and our topping. And at this point, you have a few choices that you can do. Now, your crust, you're gonna simply break it into pieces, and your strawberries, what Howie would like for me to do is take them and slice them up and put them in a bowl and macerate them or mash them up. That's what that means. And then put sugar on them, and the sugar would draw out their juice, and they would get real juicy and real sweet. And I'm okay with that as long as it has this kind of crust. But I'm not going to add any sugar to mine. I'm just going to simply have the crust and slice up some strawberries and put the topping on it. So I'll assemble up that now. The kids aren't here to taste test. Cheyenne's little sister is graduating from high school this evening, so they went to that. So I'm here by myself, so I thought, well, I'll just have this little strawberry shortcake treat, and when the kids get home later on this evening, they can have theirs. But I wanted to share with you guys, and I hope you get a little chuckle out of my mistake I made with putting the pie crust together, considering that it's called Never Fail Pie Crust, and Josie failed on camera. So anyway, I'm just going to assemble this, and you can put as much crust in here as you want. or as little crust in here as you want. It's up to you. Now, what we usually did when we made a whole bunch of pie shells is we just stacked them all together, and when it came time to assemble, usually after we got done with if we were having a barbecue or whatever, and this was a dessert, well, we would just break the pie crust up into big shards of, or whatever you want to call it, and then everybody would just put what they wanted in their bowls and how much topping they wanted. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm just simply going to break some of this off, and it's tender and it's flaky now that I made it the right way, and I'm just going to break a little of it off to go in my bowl. Now, my great-grandma, when she was raising her family back in the 40s, 30s and 40s, I guess, when she would have leftover pie crust, like she made a pie and she still had some dough left, well, she would roll it out like this and she would dock it like I did, and they would bake it up and they would use it for crackers with their soup, or use them with desserts like we're doing here. And so it's not a new thing. She did that. Grandma made strawberry shortcake out of it, and I'm continuing that. Now, I have seen my grandpa be hungry for strawberry shortcake, and Grandma didn't have time at that particular moment to make him some pie crust, and so he wouldn't, instead of having the cake, he would use something else. And you might try it sometime if you like this and you like that salt taste from the pie crust and the sweetness from the berries and the whipped cream. You might try Ritz crackers sometime, and I will tell you, it doesn't sound like it would taste good, but it's pretty good. If you're in a pinch and you don't have time to make pie crust, try the Ritz crackers, and you'll just put them in there and you'll build it just like you do this here. And so I've got my pie crust in here, and I'm just going to slice some berries. Of course, you guys know that I'm not a big fan of soupy, soggy, but I don't mind this. Tonight I'm not going to worry about mashing the berries up and putting sugar on them. I'm just going to do it like this, and I've already got some of these sliced, and we're going to be having some other strawberry recipes coming up pretty quickly because I'm in the middle of strawberry harvest, and I have a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be done with them before other things start coming on. And so I'll be making some jelly. I don't make jam. It's another thing. I don't like the big chunks, and so we'll be doing jelly. And I'll be dehydrating some in slices just to have as snacks, and I'll be making some into little bitty pieces for oatmeal and for muffins and and for any other thing that I find to use it. And I may grind some up in my spice grinder and use the powder for strawberry flavored applesauce or bread or anything that I want to use it for. So I hope you guys will try this recipe. Make your favorite pie crust. Just remember to add all the ingredients. Don't do like what I did. And then put your topping on there, and you just simply get a little bit of that pie crust and your strawberries and your whipped cream and give it a try. Well, guys, this is Josie with Cedar Creek Homestead. I hope you enjoyed being with me this evening. I hope that you'll enjoy this recipe, that you got a chuckle out of my mistake, and that you'll come back and visit with me, and who knows what we'll be doing next time. Anyway, I love you guys, and until next time, we're gone.